Jogger takes dogs, not knowing he's being watched. She gripped the phone with white knuckles. It felt like her stomach would empty out onto the floor at any moment. There was nothing she could do as the man on the security feed broke into their home, grabbed her 2 dogs, and then sprinted out onto the lawn. Marietta Kimball and her husband Joel lived a pretty normal, suburban life. There were jobs, bills, chores, and the occasional fun to be had. They didn't have children, but they counted their 2 fur babies as part of their clan. Under normal circumstances, they would take the 2 puppies with them when they left the house. But that day was different. The plan was to do some remodeling. So, a trip to the nearest Home Depot was the first thing on the docket, a place that certainly wasn't safe for dogs. Marietta kissed her 2 dachshunds goodbye and prayed the duo wouldn't pee on the carpet while they were gone. But as Marietta and her husband pulled into the parking lot and heaved the enormous shopping cart through the entrance, she quickly forgot about the chance of bathroom boo-boos. They were halfway through the store and deciding which on-sale tiles would look best in the bathroom when her phone set off an alarm. It wasn't a message or notice of an incoming call. This one was linked to their home security system. This wasn't a blip to tell her there was movement from a delivery person or kid riding their bike too close. It was an entirely different notification. She pulled out her phone to see a live stream of her front porch. Something yellow streaked across the lens. Mark had been taking the same jogging route for a few months now. Normally, he would keep his head down and try not to bother anyone. But that morning, he noticed something different about one of the houses, something he couldn't help but get a closer look at. The place was like the others in the long line of copy and paste houses, big, luxurious, and probably filled with expensive things. But this one had something else going on. 2 little heads popped up on the other side of the window and started to yap like there was no tomorrow. There didn't seem to be anyone else at home. He reached up his sleeve and took out the cloth he used to wipe sweat from his brow. He rolled it around his fist, positioned his hand near the door window, and then punched as hard as he could. He knew the first things he would take. He picked up the 2 dachshunds in his arms and then ran out of the front door. Suddenly, a buzzer and beep sounded from behind him. Then, a voice came through a tiny speaker affixed to the door frame. There was a camera. He was being watched. Marietta was sitting on a bag of cement, rocking back and forth, and trying to fend off whatever heart or panic attack had gripped her. She had helplessly watched the jogger run into the house, his bright yellow clothes standing out like a sore thumb, and then sprint out with her 2 dogs. What was he doing? She pounded on the speaker icon, praying he could hear her. The moment he heard her voice and turned around, she yelled, "There's a cat and rabbit too." You see, Mark wasn't there to steal. He was there to save. Marietta had no idea at the time, but Mark's daily jog had been timed by fate. He went by the house as soon as smoke started to pour out of every nook and cranny. Somehow, the house was on fire. Her notice had been the alarm and Mark's heroic entry to save the animals. She watched as Mark didn't hesitate and sprinted back into the house to retrieve the other 2 animals. She didn't care about the building. They had insurance and everything of value was in the fireproof safe or stored digitally on the cloud. The only thing that mattered was the rest of her and Joel's family. By the time she got home, she was a nervous wreck. Mark sat on the lawn, making sure the animals didn't escape out of the boxes he had found to keep them in. She didn't even care about the fire truck. She threw her arms around him and thanked him over and over. There weren't many people in the world who would run into a fire just to save someone else's pets. The word spread across the internet like wildfire. Comments came pouring in about Mark's bravery. Marietta promised him at least a super luxurious dinner out, paid for by her and Joel, to say thank you. It was the least they could do for someone so amazing.